No more exhibition talk. It is now finally basketball time again in Carbondale, Saluki Nation. I know anxiously anticipating game number one of year two under head coach Scott Nagy. We're excited to bring it to you. It's your Saluki Radio podcast preview with the coach and Hall of Famer Rodney Watson. I am Luke Martin. Here it is, Coach Watson. We were going, man, is it already time to talk basketball way back before Austin Peay? We're already two exhibitions down, and now by the time this comes out, it's going to be less than 24 hours from tip on Monday. You ready to roll, brother?
Absolutely. It's the weather's the perfect basketball weather. It's chilly in the evenings and beautiful in the daytime. So let's play some ball.
Yes, I know. And, you got that daylight savings time. We had to wait another extra hour, Coach Watson, here on Sunday.
That's a little different too. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but that's what we're going to stay with.
I know when it's pitch dark, by 5 o'clock as we record this, I was just telling you I was just coming from Saluki football Sunday practice. And when the lights are on full blast, it's 5 o'clock. When we had early 6 o'clock kicks earlier this year. And man, you don't even have to worry about the lights until like halfway through the second half, almost, it feels like sometimes. That's what's crazy about this time of year, Coach Watson.
Yeah, it's great.
It is. It is no doubt great. Well, look, there is plenty to get to, no doubt. And we are going to talk plenty about this game upcoming here with SIU and McKendree on Monday night. But Coach Watson, really wanted to start off our podcast and talking about someone who has meant a lot to Saluki basketball. And over the weekend and later last week, got the news that Herman Williams passed away. Coach Williams was just a huge piece of this program, spent so much of his time, effort, blood, energy, whatever way you want to describe it, into this program. When I say the name Herman Williams, what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes to your mind as someone who spent a lot of years here on that sideline as an assistant coach?
Personally, he's a guy that treated me the same way every time I was ever around him, and the same way what Ed Thompson will describe him as well. And I didn't have the opportunity to work with Coach Williams, but just treated me like I was somebody. In fact, he's a guy that brought some of the greatest Salukis to the Saluki basketball program of all times. It gave me a chance to reflect on the different eras. And I think about Coach Hartman. And hey, man, Southern was playing terrific basketball before Coach Hartman got here with Harry Gallatin and Coach Long and all that. So I don't discount that. Certainly, Coach Hartman brought Salukis into major college basketball era with that NIT championship. And then Coach Lambert comes and has to follow that. And that's when Coach Williams came. And you go back and you think about some of the great ones. And I'm not going to start on it other than Mike Glenn was the true pure shooter ever in Saluki basketball. Went on to play 10 years in the NBA. Josie Merriweather, a true big guy. And again, I won't do it any justice, but Herman was a big part of helping bring those guys to this campus, but he was way more than just a recruiter. And that is silly to even think about that. This guy was a great coach, won 2 state championships in Alabama, was the first African-American to win a state championship when there was integration into Alabama high school basketball. I mean, you think about that staff, and ET will talk about it. You talk about Coach Lambert, Coach Ubelt, and Herman Williams, 3 terrific coaches. Yvonne Williams, someone I got to know on campus, she was a huge piece to this campus. Dr. Williams was, and I think about their teamwork in a time when he was coaching college basketball. She had a piece on campus, and just 2 people specifically. But back to Coach Williams, he's going to be incredibly missed. Just anybody that knows him really, really enjoyed their friendship with him.
Well, you mentioned Ed Thompson, of course, the Hall of Famer, longtime athletic trainer here at SIU. Of course, he got to work with Coach Williams, and I'm sure it's one of the many reasons why you wanted to sit down with him. And when I reached out to you and I said, hey, I think there's a great opportunity for us to talk about the importance of Herman Williams, and not just for our fans, but even for our current players to be able to hear that message. Why did you feel ET was the first one in your brain?
Because ET was part of that staff as well. What I say, he was part of the bus. I mean, he was on the bus, so he knew the ins and outs. When you're on the bus, it's like being in the locker room. It's the same thing. There's a lot of things that you just never talk about because if you're not in the locker room, you're not on the bus, there are a lot of things you just don't need to know. Some good, some great, some incredibly meaningful to our lives, and some things that, when you're helping 18 to 22-year-olds grow into, from young adulthood into manhood, there's some tough love that goes on as well. And ET just, he knew the real inner works with Coach Williams and what he meant to us building this program. Something else I was getting to a second ago with Coach Hartman, Coach Lambert, Rich Herron, Bruce Weber, Matt Painter, Chris Lowry, the teams that went and did something, really beyond and special. All those guys did it differently. All 6 of them did things different. So it's not like, if this current coaching staff, it's not like you have to do it the way Bruce did it, because Bruce and Matt did it different. And everybody did it differently. And when you have the success that those that I've mentioned have had, it's like what they were doing working. The one thing that isn't different is Southern Illinois' culture doesn't change. It's like Alabama football. Bear Bryant won championships. Nick Saban's won championships. They coach different, but their culture, the culture of Alabama football, appears to be the same, just like it is at SIU. That's the one thing you have to embrace when you're part of this. That's something that Herman brought as well. Herman, we're not in Birmingham. We're not in the South. We're in Carbondale, Illinois. We're in Southern Illinois. That was built on coal mining, a union coal mines, and the importance of that part of this fiber. Herman embraced it. He knew how to take young men primarily from the South up a little bit further north where it was accepted beyond where it was in the SEC back in that era. And kids got an opportunity, young men got an opportunity to grow into manhood, play college basketball. Some went on the NBA, someone did different things, but Herman Williams was a huge factor in all of those parts.
He was 81 years old, passed away last Thursday. And let's go ahead and transition into our interview that Coach Watson, 2 Hall of Famers catching up with one another, as R-Dub caught up with E.T. Ed Thompson, the Saluki Hall of Famer athletic trainer.
We had a loss this week for Herman. What did Coach Williams mean to you?
Well, I mean, I can lead off with the fact that Herman was one of my groomsmen. Stood up with Jamie and I when we got married, and it all started with our relationship through athletics and the fact that we roomed together on the road and had some tremendous conversations, experiences, and our relationship grew from there, and I could talk forever.
E.T., what did he mean to the basketball program?
Well, when you look at some of the recruits from the 70s, Joe Merriweather, Mike Glenn, we're talking about Hall of Famers, Abrams brothers, Gary Wilson. I can go on, but a lot of the players from Alabama and Georgia were Herman's recruits. I mean, he won 2 back-to-back high school championships at Parker High School in Alabama, and he became kind of a legend in that regard, and players wanted to play for him and be recruited by him, and kind of set us on a trajectory of being very, very good for a long time.
What made him special? He was obviously a great high school coach, the first African American to win it. When integrated state tournament, he was the first to win a state tournament in Alabama. He had that piece. He obviously could recruit. What was special about his style?
You just wanted. He drew the best out of you, and I played. Aside from being a roommate and a friend and everything else, I played next to him in the outfield and slow pitch softball for several years, and just loved being around him, and his personality was just so contagious that he would light up the room and could make everybody's day better. And I mean, if you knew his friends, you would have an appreciation of what a special person he was, because his friends were special and pillars of the community.
What were the dynamics between Coach Paul Lambert, Coach George Ubelt, and Coach Herman Williams. When you have that much talent in a coaching staff, how do they complement each other?
Well, we both know that Paul and George could coach unbelievably well. And Herman could relate to the recruits that we were pursuing at the time. And you know as well as our audience that when we got Walt Frazier and we won the NIT, we were securing student athletes that a lot of colleges weren't recruiting yet. And Herman had that pathway and that ability to get those players to come to Southern Illinois, and that went on through the early to mid 70s, and we were very, very successful, as you well know.
How important was the partnership and marriage between Dr. Yvonne Williams and Herman, and how they could really maneuver both the academic piece, the community piece, and the athletic piece?
Well, that little Indian, as Herman used to call her, she was the grounding force in that relationship. I mean, Herman was a mile a minute and over here and over there, and every 5 minutes changing directions, and Yvonne kept everybody grounded, and they were a perfect team.
Coach Williams and Coach Lambert went to Auburn, and there was that tragedy with the hotel fire. How did that affect Herman? Well,
that's what brought him back to Southern. He kind of needed to come back, for lack of a better term, home. Even though, Alabama was where he was from and everything else. He had some tremendous relationships here, and I just think he needed SIU and Carbondale again at that time, and it worked out great for everybody involved.
Appreciate ET taking time to talk to our Hall of Famer Rodney Watson, again remembering Herman Williams, and our thoughts still with his family, with him passing away late last week. Well, let's now talk basketball. That's what Herman, no question, would want. And man, he would love to talk about this Saluki team and the excitement that's continuing to build. Coach Watson, 2 exhibitions officially done. How much should Saluki Nation take stock in what they've seen to this point? What have they seen where it's like, all right, you've seen it, but no need to really over panic at this time right now before we start here on Monday night?
Oh, there's no panic. There's no need for panic with this bunch. What you've seen are your returners are better. And man, that is a great sign when you see all those guys, those 5 guys. I know Jaheim was part of the team last year, but he wasn't on the court. So anything you see at him is brand new, but it's good to see all those 5 veterans back and better players, without going into each one of them. They just all are doing at least 1 or 2 things better than where they left off at the end of the season. Then you look at the new guys and you see, obviously Kelron is someone that sticks out right away, and his role was different in the second game. Coach, I really like the way Coach played those guys at Lindenwood. He gave, especially the new guys, he gave them a different role. He gave them a significant role, one in starting the game, but just to see how new guys will start the game. And care what you say, I don't care what sport it is. There's a difference between being a starting pitcher and a relief pitcher. And, you can go through that with every single sport. College basketball is absolutely right in line with that. And it's good to see what you're getting in October. And there were a lot of good things primarily to all those exhibition games. But I think the biggest thing that from a coaching standpoint, you see who's more ready now. You got to win games in November. There's no 2 ways around it. Southern's got one on Monday that, you don't take any game for granted. It's an opportunity to compete. You got a game on Friday that's going to be far less that issue with Kansas City. But man, with what's coming next, with 5 consecutive road games, you've got to be ready going into this game on the first one against McKendree. So I think he's kind of got some guys in terms of who are more ready. What that number is, I don't know. He said at the end of the game that the bench will get a little shorter than it was in exhibition. But what he meant by it's not like guys are going to get froze out in the first week of November. Just saying, look, certain people are going to play longer minutes. And I think that number's somewhere between 7, 8, maybe 9. But and that's not to say he's only playing 9. That's not it. He'll play. He's always played a deep bench. It's just that minutes aren't given at this point. In October, everybody gets to practice. Everybody gets pretty equal minutes. But now it gets real.
Well, piggybacking off of what you said and really looking more into that Lindenwood exhibition, because we haven't had time to recap it other than our very short post-game show that we had on the road that night. Salukis did get the win, 86-76. Lindenwood was no doubt without some key guys, 4 players in total. 3 were potential starters or would-be starters. No doubt, I think all 4 will play at one point in time for Lindenwood this year. So they were without some significant pieces, but even in that, 2 major bright spots. Isaiah Stafford won. 18 points for him on the night. We talked about his shooting comfortability level in that game. He finished with 18 points, 7 of 14 from the floor, 4 of 9 from 3. His plus minus was plus 18 when he was on the floor. But then the man we talked to afterwards, Rollins Aligbe, 2 now really good points, data points for him in exhibition 1 against Austin Peay and now exhibition 2 against Lindenwood. What about what you've seen from Rollins specifically? Let's highlight him that you're going, I don't care that it's been exhibition play. It's clear this guy's better.
When you're a freshman, when you're a first-year guy, you don't know if you're on foot or horseback, I should say. And we've used that term a lot along the way, but Rollins Aligbe is not experimenting with the game. He's not trying to figure out what he can do. He figured out somewhere before either of these exhibition games that he is big and strong. The weight room is working. The off-season work is working. He is going into power positions. His body balance for a second-year player is noticeable. The way he plays with power against contact and he lands on 2 feet. He jumps off 2 feet. He's going after rebounds. 17 rebounds, 17 points and 9 rebounds in 19 minutes against Lindenwood, who had a couple of big dudes inside. And the big guy from Maine that we used his name way too much, I don't know if they're counting on him being a starter, but he's become one. That guy is good. And Rollins was very much a factor. I really am impressed with that he's comfortable with being a power player. That doesn't mean that he's not going to do some things on the perimeter, because the shot clock will dictate a lot of decisions. But he had a real comfortable understanding of the shot clock on the offensive end. He's really put himself in being a better position player off the ball on the defensive end. Very noticeable.
Yeah, Ninovich was really darn good in that game in the exhibition. He finished in just 25 minutes. He played almost 26 minutes, 21 points in those 26 minutes with 10 of 14 from the floor. Piggybacking, really going back, how important was it for Isaiah Stafford to really see the ball go through the hoop?
I coached a tremendous player that's still playing this day. His name is Jamar Smith, freshman of the year of the Big Ten, great player of the year in Division II with us. He had some issues and had to come to our place. And what was so impressive about a guy like Jamar Smith, a scorer, when you've coached a guy that is a prolific scorer, like Chris Carr, Troy Hudson, Jamar would say to me, everyone wants to see the ball go through the net. Now here's a guy that he was way above our level, but like Isaiah doesn't act like the game is beneath him. That's what's impressive about a guy like him. Kelron, Prince, Aligbe, same way. Those 3 guys, those games weren't beneath them. And that was what's really cool. And it showed up with Isaiah, but he needed to see the ball go through the net. All shooters do. And you got to be reminded sometimes by your coaching staff, by your teammates, keep shooting, especially the big guys. Hey, man, Isaiah, keep shooting, because I'm going to rebound whenever it doesn't go in, and you're going to make a whole bunch of them. He was more comfortable, and we're still not getting the best version of him yet, because he still hasn't learned quite yet from his teammates. Even though they've practiced all the way since June, he still doesn't know precisely where he needs to slide to when a ball goes into a certain spot, especially inside. Separation's so key for shooters. I think about Kent Williams a lot, great Saluki and second leading all-time scorer at SIU. He knew how to separate from his guy, and he knew where the ball could find him as opposed to expecting the ball to find him. So as Isaiah gets even better at that shot's going to even get prettier.
And what I think is even more of importance to mention for him, 6 assists. It's only 2 turnovers. He shared the basketball at a high level. And another guy that was put into the starting role, because I think you know what you have in Calron House after what he put on display against Austin P and what you see every day from a practice standpoint. But Jalen Haynes, a freshman, gets in there starting, running that point as a freshman. He finished with 6 assists as well, had no turnovers, had 2 steals in the game, Coach Watson, only 4 points, but 5 rebounds. Jalen Haynes found himself in virtually almost every area of impact in terms of level of importance in that game against Lindenwood.
Perfect game to start Jalen Haynes. And I'm not trying to overblow this, but so often as coaches, we want certain guys to be comfortable. We want to kind of establish stuff. Thought it was so smart to start Jalen Haynes because he's going to be really key at playing the point guard position. I just thought it was great. I thought Jalen really looked so much more comfortable on the floor being the second game. He's a very talented player. He's athletic. He had a couple of dunks in the game in transition, but to be able to distribute the ball and know it's such a young player, to have an idea and you think, well, I mean, these guys are basketball players and he was a prep school kid and all that stuff, but still, when you are in a new program, it takes you a while to truly understand what you're supposed to do, let alone feel comfortable to do it.
Well, now transitioning into Monday night, it will be the first game of the regular season for SIU, but for their opponent in the McKendree Bearcats, it will be an exhibition for them, Division II level. You know a little bit about their head coach, George Suggs. He was a player at Bellarmine. You competed against him when you coached at USI. When these games still come up for you, Coach Watson, when you get an opportunity to see guys that you coached against are now they're deciding to follow in your footsteps to get in the coaching role. What impresses you about Coach Suggs?
I'm impressed, number one, with the way he carried himself as a player. He played for a very demanding coach, Scotty Davenport, who's a legend in Louisville. He was on he was on Rick Pitino's staff. He was a legend at Ballard County High School, a terrific coach at Bellarmine. He took over the doormat of the GLVC, Scotty Davenport did, and turned them into a national champion a couple of times in the Final Four. George learned under one of the best, especially on the offensive end. What really impressed me about what George was a part of was how hard they played on offense. And I expect to see this out of the Bearcats. When he talks about their motion, it's a beautiful cutting motion, and it's hard to coach. I wasn't able to coach it nearly as well as not even close to what those guys did. I think George is going to take that motion offense. When he played, his teams were great at driving the ball to the middle of the floor, attacking the strong side defense and really exposing the weak side, especially with basket cuts and cutting and passing. I think his team, I know he wants to play that way. He talks about the physicality. The Bellarmine teams he played on weren't that physical. We could handle our own with the physicality part, but he's got big guys. I'll tell you what blows me away. He's got 3 bigs that are left-handed. Now, I was kidding him about where he found those guys, and so he's got a 7-footer that's left-handed, 6'9", left-handed. Their best one, they're probably arguably their best player, certainly their best scoring big guy is a lefty. But I think he really likes the way that they're physical, that especially on the interior where he knows it's important defensively to have a presence.
You talk about Coach Suggs, too. His background, played at a high school named Vianney, which, of course, Luke Walsh just graduated from, and also he played for Luke's dad, Kevin, at Vianney too. So you think there'll be maybe some pregame conversation there? You think Coach Suggs maybe we'll try to get something in with Luke there as he walks by him, saying, "Man, your dad was on me for years."
I think they'll have that secret Vianney handshake that nobody knows but those guys. But yeah, and I think our time's coming with Luke Walsh. It's just even though we haven't had a chance to see him on the court, I don't think there's any doubt the products from Vianney. If Luke turns out anything like George Suggs did, we know, as we think we do, we know we got a good one on our hands.
Coach Watson was able to catch up with now Coach Suggs before this game. We will play it in full here for you here on our podcast, which will also be reheard on our pregame show on Monday night as Coach Watson caught up with the 8th-year head coach at McKendree, George Suggs.
Coach, what does this game mean for you and your program?
Well, it's an opportunity to compete. I always try to recruit the best players we can, and a lot of them, kind of are that on that in between, but between being Division I players and Division II players, and so an opportunity for these guys to get out and compete and show how good Division II basketball is it's cool for them. It's cool for me. I played at the Division II level, as you know, so we're excited to show what we can do.
So let's talk about recruiting. Something that's kind of stands out, kind of baffles me a little bit about your basketball team. So you've got Franklin 6'7", Zeller 6'9", Clegg 7'1", all lefties. Did you find them in a left-handed recruiting camp, or how did you get the 3 left-handed big guys in the country?
Luck of the draw. No, it is kind of a unique thing, and I think it is something that kind of bothers people when they're scouting us. Is you get used to guarding your own bigs in practice all the time, and all of them are right hand, left shoulder, and then you're gonna come play us, and you got 3 guys who are the polar opposite. So hopefully it makes it a little difficult in some people scouting for us, but. No, they're all skilled guys, right? And ultimately, if they're left-handed or right-handed, it means no difference to me. I just want guys that know how to play the game.
You were skilled. We refer to you as a skilled forward. Is that an inappropriate term in basketball, or did I have that assumption right about you? Can you call a kid a skilled forward now?
Well, if you asked me back then, I was just a tall guard. I still go by that. I'll stand by that. I was just a really tall guard. But no, it's a little bit of kind of the way the game has gone. Back then, absolutely, I was a skilled forward, and now you look at the NBA, you look at college basketball. Everybody's bigger, and everybody has a very similar skill set. Everybody can bounce a little bit. Everybody can shoot a little bit. Everybody can pass a little bit, and I think it just adds layers to what you can do as an offense, and so yeah, it's kind of a misnomer these days, but skilled forward, big guard, whatever you want to call it, as long as you got a skill set, we're happy to work with it.
You played at Bellarmine. You were an outstanding player, and you played for an outstanding college basketball coach in Scotty Davenport. And anybody that would listen to me I would tell them, you've got to watch them play offense, especially. They run an incredible motion. The cutting is just beautiful. Scotty was down there screaming at you guys to cut, and there's a reason why. And it takes a lot of energy, doesn't it, George, to coach offense that way? Are you trying to emulate that somewhat at McKendree, or what is your style of play on the offensive end?
Yeah, we take a lot from my experience at Bellarmine. Ultimately, there's a lot of freedom to it. Within the structure of, hey, we want you to pass, we want you to move, we want you to share the ball. And what's funny is when I look back at my time playing at Bellarmine, we had some incredible one-on-one individual players who would have games where they would really score the ball. And that was because there was so much movement off the ball, so many guys willing to cut and play. And so it was a bit of pick your poison. You were either going to guard one-on-one and try to hope that a really good player couldn't beat you, which, we had plenty of those that could. And then if not, if you were going to go try to send guys, we were going to move and pass and share the ball and hopefully end up with 30 assists. And so, we try to emulate that a lot, right? These days, the willingness to share the ball and play together is a little bit less than maybe it once was. But I think with our team, you're going to see a group that really does share it and is willing to just make the right play. Put the ball in the open guy's hands and good things will happen for you. So, we try not to overcomplicate it. I find myself in practice saying a lot, hey, pass the ball to the open guy, which is apparently better advice than I ever realized. But funny how that works on offense.
Chavez Woods, a 6'2" shooting guard, really shot the ball well from 3 last year. Rennie Harris, 6'3", Roland Adams, 6'3". Those appear to be some guys you're really leaning on in terms of that skilled guard position. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so between Chavez and Rennie, they've had a great fall. Roland has actually been out. He unfortunately stepped on the big 7-footer's foot on the first day of practice, so we have not gotten Roland on the floor, but Vez and Rennie, 2 of our experienced guys. It's always nice to have returners that know your stuff, and Rennie is really dynamic with the ball in his hands, great decision maker, never gets sped up. And then Vez is, an elite shooter. And so those two guys are going to kind of be the head of the snake in a lot of ways for us. And, as long as they're playing with the proper pace, they're super dynamic and understand our stuff. So, again, we want guys that kind of make a lot of different plays and can do a lot of different things. But those two guys, in terms of their pace and understanding just what good offense looks like, produces a lot of good stuff for us.
Coach, everybody's trying to build their program, and what you have in your mind as a coach on, November 3rd versus where you want it to be March 3rd might be the same, or you may be building toward it. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. How do you see this team coming together on the defensive end?
Well, we've really set the tone this year. We've had an Elite Eight caliber offense the last 3 or 4 years, and when you don't end up in the Elite Eight with an Elite Eight caliber offense, that tells you your defense ain't good enough. And so we've really leaned into it this year, and we're much more physical than we've been in years past. We're much more aggressive on the ball. We're really challenging our guys to, we don't want to just be a good team. We want to be a great team. We want to be an elite team. You got to do it on both ends. And so, not that I'm expecting us to be the number one defense in the country, but I'm expecting us every day to come in and have a chip on our shoulder that, hey, if somebody cuts through the lane, we're going to be physical with them. If we're going to get into a ball screen, we're going to get into that ball screen hard and be physical. So, kind of a smash mouth defense for us this year, and hopefully if we can sustain the success we've had offensively, that's going to produce the outcomes that we want when it does come down to March.
Appreciate Coach Suggs taking time to catch up with Rodney Watson before this game here on Monday night. All right, Coach Watson, we're roughly about 24 hours, less than 24 hours away from this one. It is the first time that for the Salukis, it's going to count in that win-loss column. Throw out that it's not a Division I team, right? It's an opportunity to start the season on the right note. We know that bench is going to be shortened up some from Coach Nagy's comments. Just where are your eyes going here for game number 1 on Monday night?
The word is clean, playing as clean as you can on November the 3rd. And that's hard to do. It's not going to be a perfect game. Gosh, Southern's still trying to get used to one another. Playing one more opportunity to get a little closer to playing into some game shape, just playing with referees, playing with the crowd, and staying within yourself. Those are the things I'm looking for. Obviously, the defensive end, the combination of the man-to-man defense, and then also the three-quarter pressure that I think is going to be super effective. Looking for that, excited about that as well. But how Southern rebounds, can they dominate the boards? Even though McKendree's got some size, Southern's got to dominate, especially at the guard spot. 5 guys go on the defensive boards for sure. Maybe that extra 4th man going to an offensive board, stealing points, stealing possessions.
Yeah, as you have talked about and we have talked about this week, you get Monday, McKendree to start out the season, home Friday against UMKC, then 5 straight on the road. You're not going to be at home for almost another month. It's going to be Arkansas Little Rock that weekend of Thanksgiving. So Coach Watson, even more, I know we're focused on Monday night with McKendree, but you look at this week at home, you really want to capitalize this week. It's going to be you're going to be on the road and traveling with your group a ton here when you get to week's end.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's really important starting right now are the walkthroughs. The walkthrough 4 hours before the game, before the pregame meal, when you're walking through and talking about positioning, both on offense and defense. I think it's underappreciated how those film sessions and the meetings before games in the locker room, the meetings at halftime, the quick brief stuff after the game. This week, everything really counts, and it helps everybody to slow stuff down.
The other factor, too, as we close out here, Coach Watts, on the podcast, you being a diehard Cubs guy, can you say congratulations to Steve Hawkins and his Dodgers, or is that still too painful for you?
For Steve Hawkins' sake, yes, absolutely. And I want to say, Steve, congratulations to your team. You got the most out of a $2 billion payroll. I think that's great for you guys. Man, 2 great teams playing. What a great World Series if you really like baseball. You talk about everybody leaving it out there on the field. Those guys did it, and that's what we're looking for anytime we watch any sporting event.
Oh, no question. It was fun to watch the ending to that Game 7 coming back from Saluki football at Murray. And now finally, we have Saluki basketball back inside Banterra Center. Monday night, 7 o'clock, our pregame coverage. It won't be the short 5-minute pregame show. We give you an hour long starting at 6 with the coach Rodney Watson and yours truly and Paxton Guy back in the network studio. We may have to try to get Paxton on one of these, Rodney. What do you think? I don't have to get. We're have to make.
You
that
can
happen.
handle 3 in this videotape. And like, hey, what about sending him to Florida? We need Paxton in Florida. I'm starting that one off.
Paxton, there you go. Coach Watson, he's pitching it for you. Man, that everyone hears but really never sees. We'll get that in the works at some point in time for our guy, Paxton Guy. But we're great and looking forward to yet another exciting season in the B courtside inside Banterra Center. Again, you can download our podcast on the Saluki Royalty Podcast Network. You can watch us on YouTube. Just search SIU Salukis. And we look forward to you subscribing and listening and watching however you take it in all year long. We will talk to you Monday night, Saluki Nation. For the coach, Rodney Watson, the Hall of Famer, I am Luke Martin. Man, it is basketball time again, Saluki Nation. Go Dogs!
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.